It's not a surprise, my eyes light up when you're around. I'm awake, beating heart, you know, I know, gotta start making dreams, taking flight, gotta show the world it's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright.
Welcome to the Quantum Alignment Q&A, Humboldt series, where we traverse through an array of healing modalities to educate, empower, and excite our listeners on their path of holistic health and wellness. In sharing various practitioners' experiences and insight, we hope to cultivate a deeper relationship between one's true self, the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional bodies. Join naturopath, transpersonal psychologist, and cannabis therapy consultant Dr. Pepper Hernandez in the Humboldt Quantum Alignment series. And now, here is your host, Dr. Pepper Hernandez.
Welcome, and thank you so much for taking time to be present with us today. Our intention for this podcast is for each and every one of us to get one step closer to the highest version of ourselves each and every day. Today, I have a wonderful guest. His name is David Sandercott. He is the author of the 21-Day Meditation Journey for Connecting with the Spirit Every Day in a New Way. David is a life and business coach, a body worker, mentor, and mindset motivational speaker that has been meditating for over 20 years and has been trained by a spiritual master for over 11. Wow. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being here, David. We have so much to talk about.
Thank you for having me here, Pepper. I'm thrilled.
Of course. You've been doing many podcasts, so hopefully that will prep you for this one. Mm-hmm. We are basically focusing today on how you the journey of how you came to Humboldt and what you're doing here for our community, because you're doing a lot and you have a lot of offerings, not just for our community, but for the worldwide, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about all of those things. You can start wherever you want.
So how I came to Humboldt, Pepper, it's pretty interesting. I lived in Los Angeles, and I had been there for about 10 years, and LA is not a city to be in when you're broke and you gained 40 pounds. Let me tell you that, okay? LA was good to me for a long time, but the big city, it was just no longer conducive to my desire to evolve myself to my highest spiritual potential. And I guess as fate would have it, I never knew Humboldt existed. You know, California stopped in San Francisco, like for most people that live in Southern California. My uncle bought an incredible, amazing property up here in Maple Creek, a 600-acre ranch in 2007, and so I started to come and visit. And so my perception of Humboldt was everything was this, like the 600-acre ranch. That turned out not to be the case, but nonetheless, it was like I just wanted to come here. It was like so many people who visit, they want to spend more time here, which I did. I did about a 6-month. I had a business where I could work online, and so I came here for about 6 months and visited, and I was hooked after that. And I never even saw Arcata. All I knew was Eureka and the ranch. That's all I knew. And it was enough for me just to want to, to get out of Los Angeles. So that's what really brought me here to Humboldt. Now, I can't tell you why I came, other than it was beautiful and I wanted to get out of the city. When I came, it was after I had broken my foot in 5 places. I gained 40 pounds. I lost a business. I broke up with an incredible woman, and I moved here. I don't know, thinking that I was going to find instant heaven and success. When what actually happened was I moved here. It was hard to find a place to live. I found a place to live. It started raining. It didn't stop for months. I didn't have a car. I was afraid to get on the bus. And I spiraled into a suicidal depression where I couldn't even get off the couch. And that was scary enough to get me on my hands and knees and surrender my life to God, to just pray, to say, okay, I clearly don't know what I'm doing.
Wow.
I'm done seeking materialism and worldly success. What do I do? You direct me and I will do it. And that led me to, let me just say I had disconnected from my meditation practice for almost a year. And my teacher, because of the broken foot, I couldn't sit. You have to keep your foot elevated. And it was like the best I did was lay in a bathtub. And sort of that was my meditation. But how I led to the depression was, it was like I went to sleep and I forgot to keep meditating. Meditating was my thing. Meditating and fitness were my two life saviors. And those things had somehow, I'd forgotten about them. And so first what happened in January was I opened up an email, and then I reconnected with my spiritual teacher, and I literally started meditating 2 hours a day. It was something I've always wanted to do because that was the requirement for becoming a teacher. 2 hours a day of 2 years of meditation, plus lots of other requirements, but that was the main one. So I started that immediately, and it was effortless and enjoyable. And I prayed and surrendered my life to a higher power, and that led me to a massage school. I never, ever, ever thought I was going to be a massage therapist. I thought I was going to be a successful actor, businessman, real estate investor, never something like massage. That turned out to be such an incredibly healing experience, massage school. It was challenging in a lot of ways. And by sitting those 2 hours a day, I had what people would call a Kundalini awakening. And so on top of the healing aspect of being touched every day by people, by strangers, by people you don't know, which brings up all kinds of emotions, I was having these visions of like 6-inch white snakes running up and down my back. I was having X-ray vision. Had all kinds of like crazy things happening to me. So it was a really intense year of healing and growth, which led me to beginning helping others heal, in the most profound way, certainly, that I've ever had a chance to in my life. How's that sound, Pepper? Did I answer the question there? I'm not sure if I know I've trailed off a bit.
I'm just so into your story. It's amazing. I've known you for quite some time. We were kind of chatting about that before we started recording. I had no idea. The depth that you've gone through, and I appreciate you just being so open and telling us about it. That's kind of how you came to Humboldt. Then you started here, and then now you're working with people on a level of probably deeper work. Or what kind of work do you think that you're working with people on?
Well, I think I've always been working with people on an energetic level. I mean, everything is energy. Energy is everything. So regardless if it's been through healing touch or through working with people with, coaching them, teaching them meditation, it's all been working with energy, working with the spiritual master. I mean, that's what he was, a Shaktipad master. So I was mastering how to work with energy. And that might look, to the person who doesn't know what's going on, it might look like I'm giving them a massage. And I think that's just what most of my clients think, is that they're getting a massage. But afterwards, they're like, well, I feel high. And it's essentially because I'm loving them. I'm taking that opportunity just to unconditionally love them. And it's coming through the work, and I'm talented at the work that I do, but ultimately it's the love that I'm sharing with them, the energy that I'm sharing with them.
Yeah. Well, I teach those Reiki classes, Reiki 1 and 2, and I do a mastership program. And I teach the students that all energy comes through the hand. And that's just an innate talent that we all have. So you probably are doing that without having that title, of course. Or maybe you do. Do you have a
Reiki master?
Oh, for God's sake.
I live in Arcata. Come on.
Well, heck, then yes, you're giving massage and Reiki. So you're doing therapeutic, like deep, like energetic massage is what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm trained in Reconnective healing too.
Hell.
I have a few different sort of energy, works.
Well, that was in the bio. You've got a lot of little things that you're doing that you don't share with other people. I like that about you because it makes it interesting because you're doing so many different things. What does a normal session look like for you? Obviously, if they're coming in physical, then you're doing body work and Reiki and all these other reconnective healing?
Reconnective healing,
Tell me what that is.
craniosacral work, they're
Tell me
all
what
energetic
reconnective
forms.
healing is. I want to know that.
Reconnective is working with frequency, light, and energy, and it is supposedly combines the frequency combines all the other healing frequencies in it, such as Reiki or prana healing or all the other ones, and it really just helps people bring back to a state of balance and centeringness. It's it's an offhand energy form, and I don't take too much stake in what people say about things, like what people claim about Reiki, what people claim about reconnective healing. I want to see the results. And out of all the different energy healings I have done, reconnective healing seemed to get the best result for the easiest stress on me. It was easiest for me to do in a way and to get the most result. And it really seemed to lead people into meditation, which is, that's my sort of, whether you come to me for a massage or not, I'm going to try and get you to meditate. I'm going to, I'm going to talk about meditation with you.
And that's the other thing that you do locally is you actually lead meditation groups.
Yeah. Right now I have a class just once a month at the Eureka Spiritual Center, but it's a great group of people. I've never had 20, 25 people show up before like I have to this. And
That's wonderful.
It is wonderful. It really helps the energy. The more people coming together for the same purpose increases the energy. And then I teach classes. I have bi-weekly meditation classes. I teach them over the telephone. So some people in Humboldt, they have a big resistance to that. People don't like the telephone here. However, it's just like listening to a podcast right now, except we dial into a conference line and there is people from all over and we have a meditation. And that is, group teaching and group coaching is by far where my passion lies, in the form of a mastermind where none of the courses I teach are all about me. Everybody gets to contribute is the point. So I could keep going.
Yeah, please do. Please do, because I want to know the other things that you're doing and how you're serving people.
So I have my bi-weekly coaching course, or meditation mastermind, and then on Wednesdays, I have a 12-week Discover Your Power, Master Your Mindset, and Discover Your Power course that it's not always running. We're finishing up one now, and then there's one starting in the new year. But this is using basic success life principles like writing a goal. It's unbelievable how many people don't write a goal and how powerful it is. And right now the people in my course are all financially free, retired people, and I'm 40 still working on buying my first house. Nonetheless, they're learning a tremendous amount of information that's helping them progress their spiritual practice. Now, it's not always this course isn't necessarily based around your spiritual practice. It's just what they all want to improve is their spiritual practice. So it's almost like they're learning how to use their professional skill set to deepen their spiritual practice. And I could kind of go on and on about that course, but I'll just say it's the same as my one-on-one coaching. Is it works from a 5-point coaching methodology. First, you help people get crystal clear on their goals and their direction.
Okay.
Second, we create a plan, and then we work that plan. We strategize our actions. Third is you improve yourself. So we pick one area that if you were to improve, it would most effortlessly and quickly move you towards your goal.
Ooh, I like that one.
That's a good one.
I like all of them, but yeah, okay.
And fourth is optimize your environment. This is one of the more overlooked areas. Look how beautiful your office is. This is a healing environment to come into, right? If it was dirty and unorganized, it would be harder to do your job and for people to get the result. So we take the physical environment, and we also take the people environment. People can be toxic in our life. That's a popular, social media thing, letting go of toxic people. But really, if you have naysayers in your life, you really do want to get rid of those people. If they're not supportive of your goals, of your business ideas, you need to probably let go of them to some degree. And then the other aspect is your mental environment, which is, I mean, if you're
So
always
important.
it's the most important thing, which sort of leads into mastering your mindset, the fifth step. And that's really where 92% of the success is, or, somewhere I just like to use that number, but it really is true. And that's where the chunk of the work comes in. Too, having all these different methods of mastering your mindset, from auto-suggestion, from high-quality questions versus low-quality questions, reprogramming your subconscious mind, et cetera, et cetera.
I love this. I had no idea you were doing that too.
Well, I don't think most people know, Pepper. I'm surprised that I actually
gosh.
have as many students and clients as I do. Somehow
Holy
people
cow.
find me.
Well, I want to take that.
Well, it starts in January. Early enrollment starts now.
I definitely want to take that. Now, this is for local. And what are you doing for people who are maybe not here? Because our podcast does reach outside of the country. And so if someone did want to contact you, we'll get into more of your social media and stuff later in the podcast. What kind of things do you offer online then?
Well, to be fair, all those are not, nobody in the current course is local.
Oh, so those are online.
Yeah.
Or they can be.
So I'm pretty old school.
Yeah,
and I do things over a conference line.
Okay.
I'm capable of doing it on Zoom and webinar, but what I find, I'm always in a coaching course as well. I'm never not. And I get distracted by Zoom and, I find myself, so I don't like having a screen. I print the outline, I print the worksheet. Everybody has that. They print it out, and then we go and we do it over a teleconference.
Okay, great. And so that's as of right now. You may be doing different things in the future. We don't know, but that's as of right now. Can we go back for just a moment? I want you to elaborate a little bit on what you're thinking as toxic environment and toxic people. Because you're right, it's a huge buzzword. When I first found out about it, I was like, oh my God, there's a word for those people. Like, it was so impactful to me. And I think by having known what that is, it changed my whole life. I dumped all the people I knew at the time, my partnership, relation, everything just dumped in that moment. So can you tell the listeners who may not be so familiar with that term, what that is exactly?
Sure.
Or in your own words.
Yeah, I'll just share, I had a sales trainer once. His name was John McDermott, and I like giving him credit for this because
should we say his name?
Yeah, I think it's okay, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
He's a great guy, nice guy.
Okay.
And he was doing a training, and he just said, okay, I'm going to give you the number one secret to success and happy living. And he built it up, and everybody thinks like these secrets to success are going to be so complicated. And he said, pay attention to what feels good in life and do more of that. Pay attention to what doesn't feel good and stop doing that. So you can just simply apply that to the people in your life, the people that uplift you and make you feel good.
Lord have mercy.
Those are the people you want to be around. People who drain your energy and you feel like you just went to the DMV after hanging out with them. Those are people you might want to let go of.
Oh my God, you're hilarious. So, okay, then here's a quick question on that same token. Then what do you do if you're a healer? Because you are going to be, and not saying that people are coming to you that are toxic. Most people don't search out healers when they're on top of the world, when they're floating in clouds, jelly beans, rainbows, happiness, love, shooting out their heart space. I mean, that's not when they're connecting with us. Typically, they're connecting with us when they're kind of in a lower frequency or when they're processing something. How do we know the difference? That's not necessarily a toxic person, but they're processing through something toxic. I know this is getting into kind of transpersonal psychology stuff, but I just wanted to know your hit on that.
Yeah. Well, first, it takes a person of consciousness to seek out help.
Yes.
So if someone's willing to seek out help,
good call.
That's your first, sign that they're willing to get better. Second, I have to say, who is your ideal client? Who are the people you help? I remember when I was going through school, I tried to explain this to one of my colleagues that, get really clear on the person that you want to help. And she kind of got angry at me, like, you can't decide who comes to you. And I was like, well,
Yes, you can.
yes, you can. I mean, I certainly am.
I'm 100% in agreement with you.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
So I don't find myself attracting very many toxic people.
Yeah.
And if I do, I quickly let them go
Yes.
as clients. I mean, I don't make it so I'm letting them go necessarily. It's
Right.
but-
Referral system,
however it goes,
processing,
I don't attract those people. I don't continue to see those people if I can help it. And I don't see people coming to look for help for the most part that are toxic. I see them as courageous, and it takes a lot to seek out help, in my opinion.
I love that answer. Thank you. That was even better than I expected. I didn't know what I expected, but that's even better. But I know that there are a lot of healers that listen to this podcast and a lot of people looking for healing as well. So I wanted to ask that to really hopefully open that up for other people. So what about toxic environments and toxic thought patterns? What do you mean by that? I know, but the listeners, I want you to be able to get it in a way that the listeners can understand it and it's more tangible for them.
So think about, I was living in Los Angeles. I was in a toxic environment, not because Los Angeles in itself is toxic, but because I was clearly being guided to be in nature more, to be in a more pristine environment, to deepen my spiritual practice. And a city like Los Angeles is just not conducive to that. And I should say any big city is really not conducive to a deep spiritual practice. Most people have to, at least for some amount of time, leave that to really connect and deep. And so leaving that was a toxic environment to coming here to Humboldt, which I clearly came here to heal. Clearly. And to me, it seems like lots of people come here to heal. Mm-hmm. Another example could be a toxic work environment. Maybe you're not appreciated. Your boss maybe he's sexist. Maybe he's
she is
or
sexist.
she, thank you, or maybe she is sexist, thank you, or maybe they're just jerks and it's not a supportive environment. My first job when I worked here, well, I was a bar. I won't say the place, but I was a bartender, and the owner would
Where? Okay, never mind. Tell me after. I want to know. I
Yeah.
was a bartender too, so I just want to know.
Yeah. And I mean, it really was a great job for moving to Humboldt County and whatnot. And the owner, he would sit at the end of the bar and watch you, and he would come and literally get up in your ear and yell in your ear like a drill sergeant. Like, you suck. What are you doing?
Oh, this is why you shouldn't have told me on air. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. But it could not have been more of a toxic environment.
Yeah,
In general, I had to leave bartending. I loved bartending. I helped people get sober,
Yeah.
But in the end, I can't even really go into bars anymore. The energy is just,
It's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that's toxic, but
Yeah.
was that a good, do you
I
need
think
another
that's-
example?
No,
or?
I think that's wonderful. I think that you're doing a great job, and I appreciate that. I think that we have a good idea of what toxic is. I just wanted the listeners to kind of have a more tangible experience of all of those through our eyes. So now that we know what toxic people are or toxic situations or environment, and we're trying to get past that, we're trying to move through that as conscious human beings, right? Tell me some personal habits or rituals that you have and how you've come to those types of disciplines in your life to create a non-toxic environment or a more positive environment for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to go back to 22 years old. I got kicked out of college. I was a drunk. I didn't have any skills. I didn't know where I was going in life. But I knew that girls gave me a lot more attention when I had a six-pack. And it's really all I knew was how to be an athlete. So I got in really great shape again. I got sober, and I made my life really disciplined around working out. And there is a magazine called Muscle Media, and Bill Phillips was the editor of it. And he had, I wish I still had this because I would give it to all my clients, but it was how to build self-confidence. And it was like, determine your 5 top priorities and do these things every day and cross them off with a pen. Write them down and make a list and cross them off. And it seems so simple, but that one thing changed the whole direction of my life. So what I call them now is your 5, personal common denominators of success. So for me, it's I meditate every day, I journal every day, I exercise every day, I call it learn something new every day, which, it could be reading, listening to a podcast like this. And, oh, geez, now I'm forgetting my fifth one, because right now my fifth one is actually recording my money, which that doesn't seem very healing. But
it totally
but
can
it is,
be.
yes.
Absolutely.
It's something a lot of my clients have a lot of resistance against, but writing down everything I make in a day, everything I spent in a day, and really tallying that up and getting clear on it so I have a financial projection. Because the number one thing that causes stress in our lives typically is money, or maybe not having enough money. Mm-hmm. So it's dealing with my money situation instead of being of avoidance, just saying, oh, I'll make enough. Because I will, it's true, I'll always make enough. But it's when I record it and track it is when I excel or have more than enough.
Absolutely. I love that. And so does that fifth priority, that changes every once in a while, but that's what it is for right now for you.
Yeah, it can change.
Yeah.
That is accurate, yeah.
How do you feel, and this is just a little side thing before we go to break, you spoke about subconscious programming, and I'm like huge neuro geek. I love doing hypnosis, and I love doing subconscious programming with myself, and I think it's huge with people, especially my patients and clients that I see, working with affirmations and really like, I won't say pounding it in, but like getting it as a program, just a constant loop. Can you talk to that subject at all, just for fun?
Sure. I mean, again, the first book I ever read was Think and Grow Rich. Auto-suggestion is what the term was originally coined, before affirmations, declarations. In my coaching, I call them power programs, and it's actually, I didn't really say it, but in my journaling, so when I journal every day, I open up my journal and there's a bunch of papers on there that have my goals, my 1 month goal, my 3 month goal, a year goal, 5-year goal, and then pages of affirmations. And so every day I read those when it's in a quiet room, almost like a meditative state. And it's really about the feeling behind them. It's so much more about a feeling and getting into it. And I do pound them into me. It's a constant repetition of how I want to think, feel, and act in certain situations and in all situations. I also record myself saying these things.
I do too.
And then I listen to them when I maybe go for a run or in the car, or there's a really exceptional amount of power. I actually resisted this for 10 years. It's a new thing that, I was sort of forced to do it in a coaching program I in. And so I finally did it. And there is so much power in hearing yourself say it.
Absolutely.
That throughout the day, I'll read usually my affirmations once or twice, and I'll listen to them typically, for a long time. Several times throughout the day, I listen to myself say them. And I don't know if this is answering your question, but this is how I pound them into my mind. This is how, positive input. So
what are you hearing yourself say? Is that what you were doing standing outside? Were you listening to yourself say, I am amazing. I'm going to do great.
No. So, there's...
You're doing great. I was just wondering if that's what you were out there doing.
I wasn't. I was doing another thing that is be in high energy as much as you can. Be around things that are high energy. So I was listening to a talk by Dr. David Hawkins. That's what I was doing then.
So that was my next question, just really quickly. I know I keep saying we're going to go to break, but you're so interesting. I have so many questions for you that just keep popping up. Who are your favorite motivational speakers? Because you're a motivational speaker on mindset, motivation.
Yeah, mindset and motivation. Those are the topics that I really like. Motivation, we could use inspiration, enthusiasm, all those things. But my biggest influences still had a spiritual base. They were definitely Napoleon Hill. I don't know if he spoke, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People was a huge impact on my life. I've also really enjoyed people like John Lavinia. He wrote a book called Integrity is Everything. He was an extremely influential person in my life. He's someone who mentored me for several years. And that, as much as anything, he's been my biggest influence. We both really liked quotes. Like he knew all the same quotes that I knew, and he'd always say them. So that's another way. I'm kind of bringing things around, but how I program myself too. Like quotes are like the most distilled, best wisdom of the person that you can have. And so anything you say, I can answer with a quote almost. Or if someone tells me why there's, I always interview people why they're successful, or ask them what's their number one thing they would recommend or what's their number one tip or thing that got them to be successful.
So maybe when we come back, we'll ask you for your favorite quote. Yes?
Whoa.
No? Okay, that's going to blow your mind. You have a couple minutes before we do that. So it happens to be that time in our podcast where we're going to take a short little break to give a shout out to a local aligned business that I love so very much, and I think that you will too.
Check out Vibes, Arcata's gorgeous boutique yoga and Pilates studio. Our mission is to provide a space where you can come as you are, where you are. At Vibes, you will be supported, encouraged, challenged, and embraced. Our amazing staff offers a variety of yoga and Pilates classes, including heated and non-heated booty yoga, power vinyasa, prenatal, mat Pilates, bar, and so much more. Our boutique is filled with beautiful, mindful, and sustainable clothing, as well as jewelry and bath and body products. Our vibe is laid back, friendly, and positive, and our goal is to provide an environment that empowers a healthy and mindful community. See you on the mat.
Welcome back, everyone. Wow, you are such an amazing guest, David. I'm so glad that you're here today. I'm learning so much more about you. I mean, we spent a little time together, but I guess we didn't spend time in this capacity where I could find out so many things that you're doing. I promised the listeners that when we came back that you would give us a favorite quote.
I have so
One
many,
or two? Okay.
so many favorite quotes, Pepper, but there's two that I've strung together that have really, I guess they've shaped my being, you know, and it's one by Albert Einstein that says, reality is an illusion, although it be a persistent one. And Mahatma Gandhi that says, be the change you wish to see in the world. And those two quotes together seem to me that you can create the reality that you want.
Yes.
By being the change that you want, by being what you want. So I think just if everybody just took those two quotes and really took some time to contemplate them, we could all just be the change and really start changing things on an individual, local level that would affect the whole global community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I fully agree with you. And those are very good quotes. Tell me about, because you may have some little information for us in your book, right? Tell us about that. We haven't even spoke on that at all, but tell me about that. That's so exciting.
When I was meditating 20 years ago, it wasn't popular. I didn't even tell people. It was kind of almost something that you kept to yourself. But people would occasionally tell me they're reading a book about meditation. And that was always confusing to me because I didn't understand how you could read a book about meditation. And so when I wanted to write a book, I wanted to make it some interactive where people could actually read it and meditate. So it tells you a little bit about my story and about meditation, but then it also includes a 21-day meditation course that will, of course, it has a guided meditation. Then it also has some of those other things that I listed that I do every day, like a journaling exercise. It has to write down what did you learn today, so ideally you learn something from each topic and you can sort of program it in. So it's just a little course. The meditations are about 15 minutes long. And each day is a different subject. Like I talk about Shaktipat, I talked about Kundalini, Kriya Yoga, non-duality, a bunch of different topics, not to go too deep into them, but in case that one person was inspired by this or one person was inspired by that, they could go in deeper. And then there was a little extra credit, which always was that, an opportunity to go deeper into that particular subject.
I love this idea. Oh my God. How long did it take you to formulate that whole entire, from concept to finish?
Yeah. Well, I joined a course that was write a book in 90 days. So the original goal was 3 months and it took a year and 3 months.
Wow. That's still very quick though.
It got done.
You're not only educating, but then you're also holding someone accountable for that 21 days because it takes 21 days, 28 days, some people say 32 days to make a habit, but you're at least giving someone something to be doing and creating a pattern for them, right?
Yeah, and I don't really know what exactly the right days is to form a habit, but I know that if you've never meditated 21 days in a row and you meditate 21 days in a row, you're absolutely going to notice a positive shift.
This is true. This is true. I love this. I love this so much. So with that being said, of course, that's probably going to be one of your nourishing self-care recipe pieces there. But if you were to give a nourishing self-care recipe, because what we're trying to do here is create superhumans, right? What would be on that list, or what would be in that recipe to create a superhuman?
Yeah, that's such a great question. First, I guess I have to say that it's to make it's lifestyle choice.
Yes.
It's like, I think my self-care is the most important thing in my life, and everything comes secondary to that. I mean, I schedule my work around my self-care. That's something you probably do as well.
100%.
100%.
Have for years.
For years. And it's not like it just happened. I had to make a conscious decision one day to say, well, wait a minute. And this isn't the kind of life I want to live. You know, I was bartending. I had a great job, a great gig. I worked 3 nights a week on the beach. I was making plenty of money in Los Angeles, but I was going to bed at 5 a.m. and killing myself. And so I made a decision that I really wanted to change my life. And I wanted to go to bed early, and I wanted to wake up early, and I wanted to start my day with meditation. So my recipe is, I start my day with meditation. That goes into exercise, usually followed by some more meditation. I eventually get into some work. At lunch is when I write in my journal and I say my affirmations, and I'm always listening to my affirmations in my headphones. And in the evening, well, believe it or not, I probably meditate as well. I like to take hot baths every day and read. So it's like I'm getting both of those things in with my hot baths. I have it written down on my goal sheet every month, because even though I'm a body worker and a coach, is that I have to constantly force myself to get healing sessions. So I do my best to get 3 to 4 acupuncture and massage sessions throughout the month. I have to force myself to do it, even though I know, but that makes probably the biggest difference, is spending money on myself, being healthy, taking care of myself. I want to really hit home on that part about spending money on yourself, because all the other ones are discipline, and they really are extremely important, but it's the spending money on yourself, saying that you're worth this, that really seems to make a big difference.
And why do you think that's so hard for some people?
Well, I can't even tell you why it's so hard for me. I think that it's part of the growth process, part of self-confidence, part of loving yourself, part of trusting in the universe will provide that there's enough.
That's it right there, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of root chakra stuff that people are working on, I feel. Yeah, definitely. And then the worthy, confidence, courage. So it's solar chakra and root chakra for sure. Well, it becomes that time in our podcast where our question and answers are kind of over. We're going to do something a little fun. Do you have a little time to do something a little fun?
Absolutely.
Okay, super. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw from the Wisdom for Healing Cards deck. And you can draw any way that you'd like. You can hand scan. You can just shuffle and pick whichever one, however you do your tarot. Or tarot. Do you say tarot or tarot? I like to ask everyone.
I don't think I say the word. I don't know.
Okay. Some people say it one way, some people say it the other.
Tarot cards. That's how I would say it.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to hit the singing bowl for your pleasure. Did you find one, David?
Yeah, Pepper. Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
Well, it should be pretty right on.
Well, when I was thinking of, when you asked me the question about the self-care recipe, one of the things that popped up in my head that I didn't get out was stop complaining. Stop complaining, stop talking bad about yourself, stop talking bad about others, and stop talking bad about situations and circumstances. It's not something that we think of a lot, but complaining, I mean, it doesn't help anybody. And what my card is release the need to complain. So there you have it.
Wonderful. Can you read the lesson for the listeners today?
Absolutely. So today's lesson: no matter whether you share complaints with others or keep them to yourself, this tendency is a way of looking at a situation without seeing its potential blessings. Your goal to release the need to complain and instead see the positive side of things.
That's a heavy card, right?
It is a heavy
How does that
card.
resonate with you and your message for today?
I could go on and on about the self-care, but how this plays a part, is one of the core of my teachings is be kind, be compassionate, and be forgiving to all people in all situations, all the time, most importantly to yourself. Because, you notice it said, even if you complain silently. And I think that's where the real work is catching yourself silently, because we can all sort of program ourselves in a habit not to do it out loud and not to be rude out loud, but it's really that inner talk and that self-talk.
Absolutely. The inner dialogue that we have is so important to start shifting and changing, because what we see and what we feel on the inside actually happens on our outside reality.
Yes.
And it's such a testament to when people are doing so well and they're so happy and they're doing such a positive thing, like yourself. You've done all the deep work within yourself. That's why your outside is vibrating with.
And every
bliss.
time, absolutely. And every time I bring stress or drama into my life or something that is less than ideal, it might take me a minute, but one of the first programs in my mind is, my inside creates my outside. So I immediately look, what do I need to change inside? Or it might not always be an answer, but I can always start reprogramming to what I want to experience versus the perceived negative thing that I experienced.
I love that. I think you're amazing, David, even more so than I thought before. You're awesome. If a listener wants to connect with you in any way, shape, or form, can you give us a couple social media platforms or websites that they can connect with you on?
Yeah, sure. I like to make myself pretty available to actually talk to people. And so if anybody's really curious, they can go to schedulewithdavid.com and you can actually schedule a 15-minute coffee call with me if you'd like, and I can sort of explain my services to you. You can go to davidsandercott.com. I'm not going to spell my name. I know it's kind of, but you can find out more information there.
We have it
about
on
me.
our website too, so they can link over to you. Yes.
If you like daily inspiration and quotes, connect with me on Facebook. I do have Instagram. It took me a long time to get hip to Instagram, but I would just like to say one thing about Instagram. I think it's my favorite social media site because there's no people on there calling each other stupid. There's no complaining. It's a really happy, positive place.
Yeah. And I have found that any social media sites across the board, if you have any kind of friction there where people are being negative, unfollow is my favorite.
Yeah.
It's just on the right hand side, go down, unfollow. You never have to see that person again. I love that about social media.
Yeah.
So it's like when people we're kind of going off topic for a second, but when people get upset about social media and how negative things are, I'm like, my feed is nice.
Yeah.
Look at mine, all the flowers and puppies and sweet people.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
I've tailored it, just like I've tailored my life, just like I've tailored everything else, and it's exactly hitting home on what you're talking about. So thank you so much, David.
You're welcome, Pepper. Thank you for having me. I really, really enjoyed this.
Well, I've really enjoyed you being here, and I appreciate you. Thank you, listener, so much for tuning in. Until next time, I am your host, Dr. Pepper Hernandez. Have a magical, wonderful day, and let's try to make this your very best life ever.
Dreaming,
This episode has been brought to you by Universal Love.